Since you hit play on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today, I want to make sure that you know that our free self-love challenge is happening in February 2024 right here on the podcast. The goal of this challenge is to make creating an intentional practice of self-love even easier than ever simply by plugging in your earbuds and listening for about 10 minutes per day. But for the full experience, you're going to want to get the scorecard so you can enter the giveaways, get the daily journal prompts sent to your inbox, and join us for the live wrap-up podcast recording. Yes, you get to join me in the studio and record the podcast together live. It is all free. Go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge to sign up. Again, it is completely free. You'll get a daily reminder with the free 10-minute coaching each day and your journal prompt, and you will see a transformation over these 14 days. It is not only going to impact your relationship with yourself, but as I'll teach during the challenge, it is going to impact every single other relationship you have in your life, your relationship with other people, your relationship with teaching. That energy is going to impact every single other aspect of your life. So sign up at wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge. It's free. Now let's get to the episode. You are listening to episode number 72 of Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast, self-development for homeschool moms with Bonnie Wiscombe. Do you find yourself so engulfed in your role of homeschool mom or teacher that you forget what you even like to do or what your passions are? Or are you just not finding the time for them that you like? This episode is for you. Welcome to Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast. I'm Kelsey Sorensen, a former elementary teacher and current homeschool mom. And even though I've been a resource creator since 2014, I've realized that printables alone aren't all you need in order to thrive as a teacher or homeschool parent. That's why I also created this show and got certified as a life coach to help you finally kick burnout to the curb and feel confident with whatever challenges come your way. With the right mindset strategies and new teaching inspiration, you're going to be well on your way to your best teacher life. Now let's go. I am loving dropping these Tuesday episodes for you, and especially because it means that I have been getting to interview so many incredible guests. So in case you haven't heard in previous episodes, every Tuesday, now through June 27th, I will be dropping an interview with one of our incredible presenters from Educate and Rejuvenate, which is our summer conference. And the reason I'm doing this is one, because I am just so excited about this event my team and I are putting on. We've been putting in a lot of effort to get these presenters together. And honestly, I just don't want to have to wait until June. I want us to feel rejuvenated right now here on the podcast. And the podcast is free, so everybody can learn and grow from listening to these episodes with our incredible presenters. And it gives all of us who are excited for the event and snagged a ticket something to really just keep us excited and looking forward to this event. So make sure you are subscribed to the show so you don't miss any of these bonus Tuesday episodes where I get to interview some incredible guests. I've already interviewed our keynote, Christina Kuzmich. I've interviewed Ashley and Roberta from the Teacher Mamas. I've interviewed Jamie Sears from Not So Wimpy Teacher and Linda Cardamus from Teach for the Heart. All of those episodes leading up to this one. Be sure to go back and check them out if you haven't yet, but also hit subscribe because there are so many more to come. On Fridays, I will still come out with my regular scheduled episodes. Friday has always been our episode day, and I will still be coming at you with my teaching tips, strategies, mindset hacks that will help you live your best teacher life. On last Friday's episode, I shared all about classroom observations. And on Friday, I'm going to be talking about how to host an ultimate summer reading challenge. So we still have those regular episodes coming your way as well. So we just get double fun, and you can pick and choose which episodes are the most applicable to you. But I really hope that you enjoy these bonus ones And if there's something you would love to hear on the podcast here soon as I continue planning episodes, be sure to send a DM at Wife Teacher Mommy on Instagram or email us at hello@wifeteachermommy.com. I would love to hear what you would like to hear about on the podcast. And you can also leave a review on the show too and let us know what episodes have been your favorite so I can kind of do more like that. And again, if you leave us a review and send a screenshot again on Instagram at Wife Teacher Mommy or email us hello@wifeteachermommy.com, we will send you something to make it worth your couple minutes that it takes for you to leave that review. Okay, so today I'm super excited to have Bonnie Wiscombe on the podcast. And she is a certified life coach through the Life Coach School. This probably sounds familiar because that is where I certified and where Christy Nichols, who does coaching inside the club, also certified. But Bonnie, I actually met through certifications. We both joined in November 2022 at an event called Life Coach Live that Brooke Castillo, our mentor, held. And I did it virtually. She was there in person because she lives in Arizona. We met through an online certification group and we really just kind of clicked and we kind of became Facebook Messenger friends. And then we recently met last month in March in person at a Life Coach School training in Miami that was included with our certification that was part of that training. So we're really excited to now we both certified as coaches already. It's just been a lot of fun to get to know her. And the great thing is she is a homeschool mom of 10 children. Can you imagine having 10 children? And maybe some of you listening do, or maybe you have more. I don't know. She's an incredible mom to her children. She runs multiple businesses. She's a certified life coach. And she just handles it all so gracefully. So I just love her, but she's also so real. Like she was like, when we got on this episode, she's like, yeah, you might hear my kids every now and then when we're recording. And it's totally fine because we are moms. We have children. So we don't need to like hide that or anything, but she's really real. I just love that about her. So while Bonnie is a homeschool mom and that is her experience where she's speaking from, and this episode is a little more geared towards our homeschool mom listeners, which I'm actually really excited about because we have had a lot of episodes lately that are definitely just for teachers, like teacher observations and sub planning and things like that. So I'm really excited that you homeschool moms who listen, you're getting your it's your time to shine right now. But teachers, I believe you can still learn so much from this, especially if you happen to also be a mom. So don't turn it off just from the title. I bet you could still definitely learn something from this episode. Okay, so now I'm going to read Bonnie's bio for you so you can learn more about her. So Bonnie is a certified life coach, serial entrepreneur, and homeschool mom of 10 children. She coaches moms of faith who are feeling called to share their talents with the world through building a business but don't know where to start. In her hard-won free time, she enjoys roller coasters, reading, and running. So without further ado, let's hop over to that interview with Bonnie. Okay, Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We're really excited to have you.
Yes, of course. I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Kelsey.
I know, and I'd kind of told everybody in the intro already. So we met through the Life Coach School and we both were doing our certification at the same time. And it was a lot of fun. We connected online and then we recently met in person at Life Coach School training. So fun. But can you tell our audience a bit about yourself and your background, like about you, your family, your homeschool experience, and what you do now to serve homeschool moms or everyone you serve?
Yeah, of course. I have a special place in my heart for both teachers and homeschool parents because my degree is actually in linguistics and teaching English as a second language. So that was my first plan, was to teach English as a second language. And then I got married and had a million children. And so I just ended up teaching them instead. But I do love to teach. It is so fun and so rewarding and so overwhelming and stressful, as all your listeners know. But I am a mom of 10 kids. They are ages 2 through 17. We have 6 girls, 4 boys. And so it's always very busy and chaotic and loud at my house. I do now have help homeschooling the kids. We have a tutor that comes in and helps, but for many years it was just me. And that was always a fun adventure, trying to balance all the things, get everybody's work done. But yeah, we have been homeschooling since the beginning. So it's been about 12 years. And now I am a life coach. I own a couple of product-based businesses as well, but my main business is coaching moms who want to start a business, but are a little bit overwhelmed at all the ideas and options out there. So yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. And I love when you shared even some of those little product ones you do too. I'm like, I don't know how you've managed to do all of this. Like you have your product-based businesses, you're doing life coaching, and then you have your large family, your 10 kids. And I just find that so incredible that you, among, being a mom of a large family and everything, you're still able to do all these other things. And that's kind of what we're talking about today, is making sure that we don't get lost in motherhood and all of those things and still find time for self-care, because that is so important. So, why do you think that homeschool parents are more likely to burn out than parents who send their kids to public schools?
Well, I think the first obvious one is that we're with our children all day long, right? So I can't tell you how many times my friends say, "Oh my gosh, summer's coming. What am I going to do?" And I'm thinking, the same thing I do every day and try to handle this chaos and these kids everywhere. So I totally get parents that aren't used to that, kind of relying on having that distance from their children. But as a homeschool parent, you really have to figure that out on your own. You have to make sure that your own self-care, both, basic physical care and then also emotional and mental care is at the top of the priority list because these kids are home all the time. It's never quiet. It rarely are they like, "Oh, you know what? Mom looks like she should need a nap. Maybe we should all go quietly entertain ourselves while she goes and takes a nap." No, that's not going to happen. So there is this added stressor of trying to take care of yourself with kids around all the time. And then I would also say that there's added responsibility and even guilt surrounding educating your kids because there's nobody else to blame if things go wrong, right? I think parents and their kids to school have the luxury of saying, well, maybe he doesn't have a good teacher or whatever. I'm sure the teachers get this all the time too, that there's some blame maybe shifted to the school or the teacher when the kid just doesn't want to perform. And so for the homeschool parent, that's all on you, right? And you have to really manage your mind around that.
You really do. Yeah, and it is kind of different. Like, I've done both. I've done like teaching as a teacher and now homeschooling my kids. And it really is different when it's your own children too. Like, oh yeah, this is like all on me. There's not like, oh, their parents at home or whatever. It's like you're the parent and you're the teacher. So
Yeah, and the stakes are higher because it's your kid, right? It's a lot harder to leave work at school and go home and rest. These are your kids that are keeping you up at night if they're not managing to figure out their math or learn to read or whatever. So,
like I mentioned, a lot of times we get so sucked into all these different roles we have. Like, a lot of us are wives or we're teachers or we're mommies. That's kind of the name of like, wife, teacher, mommy, this podcast, that we don't make time to do what makes us ourselves outside of these roles. In fact, I've even like, we did a workshop recently in Wife Teacher Mommy Club, and it was like, what do you like to do outside of like teaching or parenting or whatever? And some people even have a hard time answering that question. They've gotten so consumed by helping everybody else, which is great. We have big hearts. We want to help them. But how do you see this happening with your audience too?
yeah, this is really, really common, especially for stay-at-home moms and especially for moms of faith, which is kind of my corner of coaching. And that we get so sucked into just serving everyone around us, the family, the community, maybe you have a church community or a neighborhood you're really involved in. And we often forget that we cannot pour from an empty cup. That's a really important analogy that I bring up a lot is if your cup is not filled, your family gets the dregs. And that's not very fun. It's usually someone who's impatient and frustrated and annoyed and not happy, right? So if we can't take care of ourselves, we really can't take care of those around us as well as we should. So I love to help these moms find what they love to do and make sure that there's time and energy set aside for that to fill that cup.
Yes, I love that you do that. But why do you think it's so important for these homeschool moms and our teacher listeners also to find those ways to develop themselves?
Yeah, I think it's just because it requires so much physical, mental strain to care for little people, right? All of us are involved in raising the next generation, be it teaching them at school or at home or even mentoring the neighbor kids, right? When we are pouring ourselves into this younger generation that requires a lot of us, a lot of patience, a lot of mental, studying and making sure we have everything prepared for them. It's a big drain on us. And if we are not taking care of ourselves first, like I said, they just don't get the best of us, and that's not fair.
Yeah, and I found that to be the case. Like, when I get too sucked into my business, which a lot of times like we do. And as a teacher, I did the same thing. It was like, I would, be at school and then I would take work home and all of that. And you can just get so into that. And then you're not able to be there for your family. Like maybe by the time you get to your own kids, like if you're one of the teachers, or by the time you just get to dinner time after schooling all day, you're like have that teacher hat on. Like, yeah, you're with your kids, but you have the teacher hat on. That like by the time it's just mom hat, you're exhausted. And maybe you're not mentally present as much as you would be if you did take that just some time away for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And I get that this is a big ask, right? As a homeschool parent, you're tapped out. As a teacher, as a full-time mom, especially if you have your own kids at home, that is an exhausting role. So I fully understand that this is kind of a big ask to find time for yourself, but it really does pay dividends. And I really am like all the teachers that I know are just such incredible individuals. They often call their students their kids. You know, they are giving so much time and effort to these children that are under their care, very often way more than they're getting monetarily paid for, right? Teachers and their salaries need to be reevaluated, you know. But so consider, if this is a hard thing for you to do, just consider this a gift that you're giving to those kids, the ones you teach or the ones that you're raising, to better improve yourself and to show up as the best version of yourself.
We will get right back to the show in just a moment, but since you're listening to this episode, I bet you will also love our summer event, Educate and Rejuvenate, happening on June 27th and 28th, 2023. With your ticket purchase, you'll get live keynotes with Joe Dombrowski, aka Mr. D, and Christina Kuzmich to laugh and feel inspired. You would normally pay up to $75 just to see one of these keynotes. You'll also get a full speaker lineup with over 70 incredible speakers with a teacher track and a parent track, so you can choose your own adventure, and these sessions are pre-recorded to do on your own time. You'll have 10 full days to enjoy the pre-recorded sessions with a general admission ticket, so you don't need to feel rushed. You'll also get live coaching with me and certified coach Chrissy Nichols. We have both been certified by the Life Coach School, so you'll know you are in good hands. You'll also get a Step It workout with Brianna Smith, the co-founder of Step It Fitness, and a yoga/meditation with Lizzie Langston from the Postpartum Coach to jumpstart each day. You'll also get a certificate of completion for the credit hours completed, so you might be able to use this as PD credit. All of this is just $19. It is a total steal. So go to educateandrejuvenate.com to grab your ticket today. You know, what would you have to say for those who are really like, oh, like that's such a nice idea, but I just don't have time. Like they just really are like, I don't have time. That is a fact. That is like a circumstance. What would you have to say about that?
Yeah, I will absolutely say that there are, especially those who work outside of the home and then have their own kids at home, your time is short. That is absolutely true. However, I would encourage you to look at your own self-development and care as something that is non-negotiable. So would it be possible for you to outsource grocery shopping or just do grocery pickups so that you could have a few minutes to read a book that's really important to you or to go on that walk that you really need? So this is something that I've had to look at the last few years, especially as my life has gotten busier and I've had more kids and then building these businesses, is what can give? What can I let go of in order to still maintain the mental acuity that I need and the emotional stability that I need? So I'm actually, I call it selfishness, but it's not a bad selfishness. I'm really protective of my time when I am developing myself, whether it's the run I need to go take or like I said, the book I need to read or something I need to study up on to make myself a better mom and teacher.
Yes, and I totally agree with like you saying too about you said like selfish or whatever. And I don't know if you heard this episode that Brooke Castillo did a while back and on the Life Coach School podcast. I mentioned it on a recent episode. I don't even remember which one. I think it was one about self-care actually. But she talked about how selfish, she like pulled up the Google definition and it was like putting yourself above other people. And she was like, I think that's actually the only way to show up in the world. And it's not like, putting yourself at the expense of other people, but it's like making sure that you're taken care of, because again, it's that you can't pour from an empty cup. It's like when you're on an airplane, what do they tell you to do? You put that mask on yourself. And, as moms are like, why would I do that? I want to save my child. But then, how are you going to get it on all your children if you don't have it on yourself? You're only going to make it through. Like,
I was literally just talking about this on Instagram because I remember taking a baby on a plane once, and that was my first thought when they said that. Was like, I thought, no, I would put it on my baby first. That's what moms do. That's what teachers do. We sacrifice ourselves at the expense of these kids that need us and they need our energy. But just be aware that that only takes you so far. And if you don't put yourself first, you're going to fizzle out real quick. And you've probably already experienced that if you are like most of us.
for sure. So we're talking all about this like self-development, like, okay, you need to make time for it. You need to make time for self-development, what can give or whatever, but what does self-development actually mean to you? So if you're like, okay, we need to make time for self-development, what is that?
Yeah, for moms, I usually encourage them to look at what they would like to develop in their kids or help their kids develop. Do you want them to be musical? Do you want them to be educated? Do you want them to be strong physically? Those are the same things that you want to develop in yourself, right? You would never expect your kid to only do one thing day in and day out, only ever do school, never do extracurriculars, never get outside and run around. No. The same thing goes for you. Are you spending all day with your kids? Are you spending all day cleaning the house? No, you need to have a variety of activities and opportunities to develop the talents and skills that you have. And so many of us, especially stay at home moms, I think for many years think, well, gosh, I've been out of the workforce for years, or I don't have a degree, or I don't have a lot of skills, or whatever. But we all have talents and we all have things that we can develop and become better versions of ourselves. And I think that we owe that to our families and to those who are reliant on us to become the best versions of ourselves.
I absolutely agree 100%. I feel like it's so important for us to do that. I feel like we owe it to our children to do that. Like, if I want my daughter, for example, to look at me and believe, like, that later in her life, she can continue doing all these things. Like, she's really passionate about singing and everything. And so I'm like, if I want her to believe that she can continue to do those things, I need to be that example and show that I can do what I want to do and believe in and want to develop myself. So it's really being an example for your children at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I would also share this. If you're having a hard time carving out time and energy for yourself, ask yourself where you would be without your mentors and teachers and people who have helped you along the way. What if they had chosen not to go to college? What if they had chosen not to develop themselves? Where would you be? So think about the people that are under your care that might come in contact with you and how they might learn and develop themselves thanks to your example, right? That's a really selfless way to look at it if you're having a hard time spending time on yourself.
Yes, because it's not just for you. It is like I've talked about on this podcast, like when you learn, especially like the coaching tools that you and I have learned in certification and that we teach our clients, like when you learn how your thoughts create your feelings and drive your actions and create the results in your lives, when you learn all of that and you can teach that to your children or the children you teach in your classroom, and you can just model it, the way we compose ourselves in different situations, they learn from that. They see the result of it and then they learn from that experience of just watching you. So, as we mentioned, or as you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, you support homeschool moms who want to also explore a hobby or start a business. So, why do you think it can be beneficial to these moms to do this?
Well, I think for two reasons. Number one, like I mentioned, homeschool moms especially, it takes so much extra time and energy to teach your children in addition to being mom and homemaker that you really do give so much of yourself. I think it's very beneficial for us to go find something that fills us up. That is the reason that I started my first business. My first business I started about 8 years ago. I was pregnant with my seventh baby. I had no business doing, so to speak, doing anything outside of being a mom and a homeschooler because my life was very full. But I needed that. I needed something to pull me out of that chaos and to say, oh, look, you are still valuable as a person. You're not just like a mopper and a math grader. So it was very beneficial for me. But also I would say that we get to develop so many amazing talents and skills as homeschool parents that we owe it to the world and the community to put our talents out there. I know many of you are probably thinking, oh, I don't really have any talents, but I disagree. If you can stay home with your children all day long, you have patience, even if you lose your patience sometimes, right? You have the skill of understanding children when they are frustrated, of helping them work through hard problems, of being there for them all day long. So I really think that that is our duty, is to put these God-given traits out into the world and benefit the world around us with what we've been given.
But what if they don't even know what they want to do? If they're like, okay, that's great, Bonnie. Like, I do agree that it would be good for me to do this, but I don't even know what I want to do. Maybe they're still kind of like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, so in deep with that, taking on those roles and kind of losing themselves. How do they get started or figure out what it is that they want to do?
Yeah, so I am smiling from ear to ear because this is my favorite part of helping moms dive into this, because so many of us don't even know where to start. But here is the big secret. It doesn't actually matter. And likely, if you do decide to build a business outside of your home, and maybe this is like a retirement plan for you. You want to teach for another few years and then you want to retire and have something of your own. Great. But the fact of the matter is, it will morph and evolve over the years. It will look way different today. I'm sure, Kelsey, this is the same for you. Your business looks way different today than it did 5 years ago. But the point is to just start. to just start developing a talent, start learning about a skill. Maybe you think, well, one day maybe I'll have a website. What would that look like? How do you build a website? I don't know. I'm going to Google it. Let's figure it out, right? Just one step at a time is how everyone builds a business, and just expect it to evolve and change over the years. And that's totally normal and an exciting part of business, is to just get started and see where it takes you.
Yes, I 100% agree with this. I actually just did an interview with on a business podcast about like how much, like really just thinking about how much it's changed over the years, and how, you start small. Like when I started, I wasn't like, oh, I want to create a business with a team and everything. I was just like, I want to make some side income while I substitute teach and teach guitar lessons all at the same time. And my goal was to make like just pay a couple of the bills with that. So it's like, it doesn't have to be like something super overwhelming. It can just be like, hey, what if I did this? And what if it worked out? Or if it doesn't, that's fine too. It's just like kind of exploring and figuring it out. How do they also know if a business is right versus just doing something for the sake of self-development, like maybe a hobby or doing community theater? Like maybe it's not about them making money. But how do they know which way they should do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't think there's an answer that's right for everybody. I think most people just kind of know, like, as you start to develop something, for many of us, our business grows out of a hobby that we really loved. That was my first business. It was a sewing blog and a pattern shop. And I just loved to sew. That's what I did for fun when my kids went to bed. And so I thought, what if I started sharing tutorials online? I would love to show people how to do this little technique I've learned. I would love to share a pattern that I've developed. So that's kind of how that grew out of it. But for other people, they prefer to keep their hobby separate from their business because they don't want the pressure of having to make money off something that they really love, right? So I just say get started doing something that you enjoy. And if it starts to feel like, gosh, maybe I want to share this, gosh, maybe I want to make some money off this, go for it. And if it never does, that's great too. Hobbies are an amazing way to develop yourself and keep you sane when your life is kind of crazy.
Oh, I love this, Bonnie. I feel like you've shared so much good information. And I agree. It's just, I think you'll figure it out as you go. You'll know if it's like, okay, I'm going to just start. This is what I want to do. And then you can figure out, do I want to make money doing it? Or is this just like for me?
Yes, absolutely.
And there's no wrong answer, just knowing that. Okay, so you're also presenting at Educate and Rejuvenate, which I'm really excited about. I'm so glad that you're going to be speaking at our event and that we've connected so you're able to do that. What will you be sharing with us there?
So similar to what we're talking about today, I'm going to be talking about prioritizing yourself as a homeschool parent, both moms and dads.
So during your session, people will be able to like comment on Facebook too. So if you have like questions about Bonnie's session, you'll be able to be like, oh, like, how would you recommend doing this? And get like,
Yes, if you have any ideas that you want to include in the session, I'd love to hear them.
So yeah, if there's anything you want Bonnie to include in the session, she's still in like planning phases. Where are you on social? On Instagram, right?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's just Bonnie Wiscombe, Wiscombe. And yeah, you can come chat with me there. Send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you.
Also during the event, in the event Facebook group, if you have questions after watching this session, you'll be able to comment on every speaker will have their own post and you can like interact with the speakers, which is a lot of fun too. But then for now, you also have something to share with our listeners as well. Can you share a little bit about that?
I do. Yeah. I've been creating a free download for building a business specifically for homeschool moms. So if this is something that you've been curious about, maybe trying to earn a little bit of extra money, or you just need something that is your own outside of parenting and homeschooling, you can download this freebie. It is a pretty awesome comprehensive guide on how to find that time and energy, even though your life is really full.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like the time and energy part is really what is a big hang up for a lot of these homeschool moms. So I love that that's what you're addressing in the freebie, because I feel like that's the first part of getting started. So that is a great resource. We will link to that in the show notes so you can grab it. Where else can our listeners connect with you online?
Yeah, since you're already listening to a podcast, I actually have two podcasts. One is called Outnumbered, the podcast for moms of large families. And we talk a lot about homeschooling there if you need homeschooling help. And then I also recently started a solo podcast called Burning Brightly that's for moms of faith that want to start a business.
I love it. And I am so excited about your new podcast too. Your current one is also awesome, but it's just really fun when you launch something new. It's like, oh, yay.
It is. It is so fun.
So be sure to check Bonnie out on both of those shows. And also be sure to check out Outnumbered, the podcast too. They recently did an interview with me. I think it's actually airing after this one though. So go follow the show and then you'll get to see when that interview comes out, which will be a lot of fun. Okay. Anywhere else you wanted to share, like your website or any other socials?
Yeah, you can also find me on Facebook, Bonnie Wiscombe Coaching. And then my website is also bonniewiscombe.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're so grateful for all that you shared with our listeners today. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey.
Wasn't that interview with Bonnie awesome? I hope that you enjoyed it, whether you're a homeschool mom or you're a teacher. I know there's something that everybody can glean from that conversation that we just had, because all of us can focus on our self-development, whether it doesn't have to look like a business. It can be a hobby. It could just be something that you're passionate about that you get to do outside of just helping others. We also need to take care of ourselves so we can better take care of them. I wanted to share because Bonnie shared the link with me for that freebie. So all you need to do is go to bonniewiscombe.com, which is WISCOMBE is how you spell her last name, /homeschool. So when you do that, that'll take you to that incredible freebie she shared about. So if you are a homeschool mom who wants to learn either how to build a business or get more passionate in your hobbies, definitely check that out. And then also to see Bonnie and other amazing speakers live at our event, Educate and Rejuvenate. You'll hear from Bonnie, you'll get to hear her presentation, but also all these other presenters I've been interviewing and will continue to interview. Our keynotes, Christina Kuzmich and Joe Dombrowski. We have so many amazing speakers, so many amazing topics, from reading to math to social emotional learning to kicking burnout to the curb. We've got it all covered for you. So go to educateandrejuvenate.com to learn more and grab your ticket. And we will talk on Friday when I'm going to share all about how to host a summer reading challenge. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step, come grab your ticket to join me at Educate and Rejuvenate, the education event of the year, on June 27th and 28th, 2023. This year, we have two incredible live keynotes, Joe Dombrowski, aka Mr. D, and best-selling author and video creator Christina Kuzmich. We have over 60 incredible speakers speaking on topics such as math, language arts, reading, social emotional learning, classroom management, homeschooling, and tackling burnout. We start the day with a workout together each morning. We have panels with the presenters, and you'll even get to join live coaching with me, and even raise your hand if you would like to be coached. Plus, we give away tons of prizes throughout the event too. It is the best PD you could ever attend, and all of this is happening from the comfort of your own home. It's just $19 for a ticket, and past attendees have said that this is what finally lit a fire under them to enjoy teaching again, and that it was well worth every penny. Go to educateandrejuvenate.com to learn more about the 2023 event, or if you're listening to this later, that link will show you what's up next as we will continue to do events like this. I hope to see you at Educate and Rejuvenate.